Hello, I'm Kenny from Albot, and today I'm here to talk about the Lomography Sprocket Rocket. As some of you may know, we started the SprocketShots subreddit about a year ago, and it's really started to take off. There's a lot of people posting great photography there. You should really check it out if you're into analog photography in any capacity. But the number one thing that we get asked over there is, how do I do this? The number two question is scanning. We'll get to that in a minute. But traditionally, the answer is, well, you need a medium format camera, because the imaging circle on a medium format camera, as probably makes sense, is bigger than a 35 millimeter camera. So that allows you to load 35 millimeter film into the back of the camera using 3D printed adapters that we sell, or chunks of foam, or pen caps, or a chopped up 120 spool, however you can get that 35 canister kind of centered in the 120 or 220 back or whatever it is. And then spooled in. That takes a little bit of effort, but the real barrier to entry there is obviously having the medium format camera. Lomography decided to take that out of the equation and create this. This is their new Sprocket Rocket Teal 2.0. And I asked them to send this over so I could review it for SprocketShots and you guys. And I'm really glad I did, because this thing is sweet. The number one thing that I seem to run into when I want to shoot film is simply the fact that cameras are heavy and they're bulky and they take up a lot of room and they're expensive and you don't want to drop them and there's all that kind of thing. With this, I can just chuck it in my backpack and go. I'm not worried about it getting ruined. It's pretty sturdy, even though it is plastic. It's not flexible. It's not. I'm not worried about this thing breaking on me. And it's very light. Probably weighs less than my cell phone, honestly. Maybe the same. The lens is a 30 millimeter wide angle lens. It's pretty, maybe not fisheye, but it's wide. The center is reasonably sharp and the edges do this cool kind of fudgy, traditionally Lomo kind of look. It is a plastic lens. You've got a selector on the bottom to choose between two aperture modes, f10.8 and f16. I tend to leave it at 10.8 because that's pretty dark already. And then on the top, you've got a shutter selector between N, which I don't know why it's called N, but that's 1/100th of a second, and then B, which stands for bulb. And if you don't know what that means, it means it'll take the picture as long as you hold down the shutter. So here's your shutter release right here on the side. It's not up here. And you just go like this, takes the picture, let it go. If you're on N, it'll take the picture at the correct speed. The viewfinder is optical and is not through the lens, obviously. It's just its own little lens, so you get a good idea of what you're seeing in here, but obviously it's not exactly representative of the image you'll get. But that's kind of half the fun with these Lomo cameras is the mystery and the adventure of what you're going to get when you get your film back. I've also taped up here the window that shows you what film you've got in there. I don't actually know if that's necessary. I just did it out of habit. Actually, the first time I took it out, I taped up the entire body, which I found out you don't have to do. Just from my days shooting 16 millimeter film, you always tape up the magazine. So there's that. To load the film, you just violently rip off the back, put it on this side, roll it over, wheel it in. You've just got two little winding knobs, forward and backward, which allows you to shoot double exposures or half exposures, whatever you want to do. You can play around with it. The way you know if you're loaded up or if you're on the next shot is there's a frame counter, and next to the frame counter there's a little white dot that wheels into place. When that's there, you know you're good to go. They also include a mat that you can plug in right here, and that will keep you from exposing the sprockets if you just want a traditional kind of X-pan wide sort of panoramic look. So the back just simply clips on and you're ready to go. Lens cap is also included. Once you've taken all your photos, you've got to develop them. Now, I send my photos to the darkroom in San Clemente, and I'm hoping that I can head down there and shoot a video about their process and everything, because they're a great lab. Every photo I've ever sent, every roll of film I've ever sent to them has been incredible when it came back, and their scans are flawless. And that's something that seems to hang people up on the SprocketShots subreddit, because you can't scan these things traditionally. If you send it to most labs, a roll of SprocketShots, they won't really know how to scan it, or they're not set up for it depending on their machine. The darkroom does, but Not all of them. Your local might not. So you can 3D print or we can 3D print for you a holder that will hold the negative and expose the sprocket holes so you can scan it on a traditional flatbed like V700 or whatever, those Epson ones. Or you can, like I said, send your even negatives over to someone like the darkroom and they can do it for you. If you're developing, it's the exact same, you develop it the exact same way that you would develop anything else. So that's pretty simple. And there's one thing that I haven't quite touched on, and that's because I learned about it late. While I was actually filming an earlier version of this video, I discovered that the hot shoe up here actually will communicate with anything, not just like special Lomo flashes. And if you're deep into photography, that may be a duh, but come to find out, I'm a dummy. So I have an SB800 from Nikon and I plugged it in and it worked flawlessly. So then I was like, no way, is this going to work wirelessly? Yes, it will. So my next project after this is I'm going to take this to Colorado with me and I'm going to shoot some portraits and some nature stuff and just whatever comes. I'm going to be out there for 2 months, so I'm going to shoot probably 3 rolls of Lomo 800 and we'll see how that goes, and that'll probably be pretty cool. So wait to see that on the owlbot.co blog. That'll probably be up in like February sometime. So that's a bit from now, but just giving you a heads up. So finally, I wanted to say thank you to Lomography for sending this to me. The community really appreciates it, and I can only say good things about it. It's a great little camera, and really, really fun to take around, and it makes the act of taking photos easy, which I think is possibly the hardest thing about shooting photos is just, you know, getting out there, and this gives you no excuse to not do it. So thanks again to Lomography, and we'll see you next time.